If you're wanting to get better at Skirmisher and you don't know how, then listen up, because Skirmisher isn't exactly the most complex class to learn. There's only a couple of key things you need to know, but with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. So let me go ahead and start off by saying that I think the best Skirmisher, in my opinion, is the Russian Skirmisher, and here's why. The Russian Skirmisher, their bullets feel extremely light. Like the Mosin bullets are extremely light and they're really accurate, and you can hit a lot of crazy shots from far away that other skirmisher classes may not offer. Since I already talked about Russia, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the French skirmisher. Now the French skirmisher, I say, is kind of like the German skirmisher in terms of it having heavier bullets that are better for more up-close confrontations, because from further out, the French skirmisher is not that accurate. You end up having to compensate way more with your lead shot, more than you have to do with, let's say, the Russian skirmisher. Britain's has somewhat of a use, although if you don't have the extra countries pass in, I don't think you can do this. But with Britain's skirmisher, you can treat it almost like Bulgaria's, where you can get on an all-brown uniform. Like the Canadian uniform is probably as close to completely brown as you can get, and it's really good for dark maps. The nice thing about Britain's skirmisher is that the British skirmisher has 10 shots, but the downside to that is that you have to reload twice because it's twice the amount of bullets. See? I personally would put British skirmisher a tick above France. Alright, up next. What do we got up next? Italy. Okay, Italy is the other one. Now, Italy is the second best on Entrenched. It also has light bullets. However, for some reason, they aren't quite as accurate as Russia's bullets, as I've taken note. So they don't do as much damage as Russia's skirmisher. But it's still pretty accurate from really far out. So in order goes Russia, Italy, Britain, and then France. The German skirmisher, for example, that in my opinion is probably the worst out of all the skirmisher options. It's because the German skirmisher, the bullets are heavier and they're not as accurate. The German skirmisher is really good for close-up confrontations versus Bulgaria and Austria-Hungary. Their skirmishers are practically identical. Now they have different guns, but they basically function the exact same way. Me personally, I prefer to use Bulgarian. The Bulgarian skirmisher has the ability, when you have the different countries passes and have access to those different uniforms, the Bulgarian skirmisher has a all brown uniform. Also, the Bulgarian skirmisher, it's almost equal to the amount of accuracy that the Russian skirmisher has. It's very accurate from far away. The bullets are very light. They travel very fast. But the Bulgarian and Austro-Hungarian skirmishers are basically identical other than the uniforms. That's basically all I have to say about Central's skirmishers. Next, I want to talk about the smoke grenade. How should you use the smoke grenade? And there's two ways you can use it, and both ways have their uses. You can either go straight through the smoke, and I'll show you that in a second, or you can do what I tend to do more often than not and go around the smoke real quick, is because I can then go onto one of my shoulder camera angles, right? And I can go around and see how I can see all that space out to the left of me while going around the smoke, versus if I'm going straight forward, like I can't see anything, right? It allows me to potentially see my enemy before they see me, because a lot of people will either be in overhead view like this or in first person like this. But I personally think that throwing your smoke, pushing around, and then going into one of your shoulder angles, depending on which direction you're pushing, is probably the best way to get around your enemy and get a shot on them first, because you'll be able to see them before they do. I'd really only push directly through the smoke if you're trying to push a trench. That's really the only time I tend to go straight through, is if I'm pushing a trench and I need that extra blanket of cover, or I'm trying to outflank them, then that's when I tend to push around. So that's really all I have to say about using your smoke properly, is two ways to use it, either by going around it or through it. This is a bit of a tip for people who have the Calibri Game Pass. Shout out to RHS. If you're watching this, RHS, thanks for this tip because I didn't really think about this before. But Calibri with Skirmisher is a pretty good combo because you can shoot them once and then finish them off with Calibri. This Calibri only does like 7 damage per bullet, but with the Skirmisher bullets, usually you can work them down more, and if you need to, you can switch back to your primary. But yeah, shout out RHS for showing me this. I didn't really think about it in that way, so thanks. But with Skirmisher, because the bullets are lighter than, let's say, rifleman bullets or recon bullets, they do less damage, and you have to give yourself more lead distance when you're leading a shot, because otherwise they're gonna go way past your target. So see, if I were just to do this, see how it went way past him? See, you have to lead out just a little bit further to make sure you hit your target. I know that was not a lot. Skirmisher class is just not very complicated. Like, the only thing you have to keep in mind is extra lead distance. Russian Skirmisher is the best on Entente. Bulgarian Skirmisher is the best on Central. There are 2 different ways to use your smoke grenade. Either push straight through it or push around the side using your side angle camera. And then the Calibri and Skirmisher combo is a very good combo to take advantage of if you have the Calibri Game Pass. But let me know if you have any questions. I am very interested to hear what you guys have to say. So leave a comment down below. I'll make sure I answer them the best that I can. But I hope this tutorial was helpful for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.